Someone sound the alarm because Grandpa is loose. Grandpa is not making sense. This is probably, this might sound extreme, but it's true. This is the most insane speech he's ever given. And he alleges that Tim Scott's not straight. He talks about Melania Trump and private conversations that they've had. And he also, very importantly, talks about how he might cancel the elections and how he might try to run for a third term. Okay, so it's all packed into here. There's clearly something wrong with the president. Here is how the whole thing started.
Nobody even knows that the drug prices. Now, people will say, you don't mind if I don't read this crazy teleprompter, do you? Because, do you mind? Because I have, it's called standard, but.
Yeah, so he gave up the written speech. And did you hear that tepid applause? That was just like every House Republican was in this room and there were about 5 claps. They're like, no, please, President Trump, stay on the script. Well, he did not. And that led to moments like this where he was like, Tim Scott, straight guy, right?
Tim Scott, who's a great guy, great, wonderful guy, South Carolina, straight guy, right? He is a good guy, good person. He's Tim Scott, who's a great
Tim Scott, straight guy, right? Did he just out Tim Scott? He also, now this to me was, of all the things he said in this speech, was the most hopeful, because it was like, oh, maybe Donald Trump is going to let there be free and fair elections because he keeps acting like it is something he can lose. And I don't think you say something like this if you're planning on rigging it. But he did say that we've got to win the midterms.
But you got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
It's interesting because he knows that he's done something wrong if he knows that he's going to get impeached. I wonder, there are so many things the Democrats could choose to impeach him over. I actually think they'll have a hard time choosing just one. I say just keep impeaching the motherfucker until he is no longer breathing. Now, Donald Trump also had this, he has this idea with healthcare. He seems to think that Obamacare is awful. It's certainly not perfect, but his idea to fix Obamacare is just to get rid of it and to just give money to people to buy insurance. That is his healthcare plan. That's his healthcare plan. Here's a bit more of that.
But you can own healthcare. Figure it out. Let the money go directly to the people. It goes in a healthcare account. There are numerous things you can do, but you have to let no money for the insurance companies. I'm going to meet with the insurance companies. I said, I'm going to meet with them because I met with the prescription drug companies. And that's when I found out what was going on with the fact that we were paying 10 and 13 and 14 times more money than Europe and other.
So I kind of feel like if he wants to fix healthcare, I would be happy if he did. Call it Trump care. I don't really care. I don't have an ego around this. If he wants to create a public option, if he wants to create a healthcare plan that is actually run by the government, something that we all pay into, I'm totally for that. I don't really want Donald Trump to be in charge of healthcare, but I'd rather he lay the groundwork for a public option than whatever this idea is. But I don't see what plan he's proposing here other than just giving people money, which I don't know how that solves the problem of healthcare being expensive. If anything, if the healthcare companies know that people are getting money, they'll just raise costs because they know people can afford it and the government's paying for it. It doesn't make sense to me. The only way you can really fight the out of control costs of private healthcare companies is by having a public option that is competitive and lower. That's the only way you can do it. I would like you to try to explain to me what he's saying here.
I want to really hear. But she gets it. Drops the thing, walks off the stage crying. Her mother's crying, her father's crying. Guy gets.
So presidential.
But she gets it.
Guy who has passed 3 cognitive tests, by the way.
Drops the thing, walks.
Absurd. Now, as he was doing this, notice that the Republicans are they're in silent. They're literally in shock.
And I said, so you're going to do it, Emmanuel? No, I'm not. I said, okay, here's the story, Emmanuel. If on Monday you haven't agreed to every single thing that we want, I'm putting a 25% tariff on everything coming out of France, including your wines, your champagnes, and everything else. No, you cannot do that. I said, I can do that, and I will do that. Even for national security, I'll do that, but this is for medical security. And 100%. Now, let me explain. The tariff I'm imposing on you is 42 times more expensive than what I'm asking for you in return. So you can either have a 25% tariff add it on to you, like I did with China on fentanyl. I put a 20% penalty tax on China, and it's drying up because the tax is far more than they make with fentanyl. But with the other nations, I said, you're going to do it. And you know what he said? You can't do that to me. I said, yes, I can.
This man is making up stories. That is a made up story. None of this happened. I guarantee you none of this happened. I bet you Macron is hearing this. He's like, that is the first time I'm hearing it. This has never happened.
It's not going to be that bad. You just have to explain it to your people, your 39 million people, that, by the way, don't vote by mail. They vote on paper ballots. They tried voting by mail, and there was...
Okay, so we moved from medicine to Macron to voting by mail. He has lost it. He has lost it. Maybe he never had it. Maybe he never had it. Now, Donald Trump here toys with the idea of canceling the elections.
The worst president did the worst job. They had the worst policy. We have to even run against these people. Now, I won't say cancel the election. They should cancel the election because the fake news will say, he wants the elections canceled. He's a dictator. They always call me a dictator. Nobody's worse than Obama and the people that surrounded Biden. Not Biden. I don't think it was Biden. He didn't know what the hell was going on, okay? The election was rigged. He had no idea what happened. He still does.
He's losing his mind. Now, I'm going to say real fast that even if he tries to cancel the elections, baby, I would love for him to try. I would be out in the streets. If he wants to cancel the election, he is going to create one of the biggest movements in the history of the world if he tried to do that. I don't think he will. Now, he did also, I do think this is what's going to happen. I do think this is what's going to happen. I do think this man is not going to leave office under his own accord. I think we have to be prepared for that. We have to start to take in that reality. I don't know how we counter that. I am just a YouTuber. I hope there are smart, rich people who are figuring out, all right, what is the plan for Donald Trump trying to go for a third unconstitutional term? What's the plan? Because he's going to do it. He is telling us.
In other words, I could have the most unbelievable 4 years, and I guess I'm not allowed to run. I'm not sure. Is there a little something out there that I'm not allowed to run? But let's assume I was allowed to run. I could have, there's going to be a constitutional movement. No, I could have the most unbelievable 4 years. Everything was great. But in the last week, I made a little slip up in something, and you lose the election. It's like, so we can't let them forget that we did such a great job on the border. By the way, Venezuela.
So again, I'm like just wondering, what's the plan? What's the plan? Does anyone have the plan for when he tries to? I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again. One of the best ways to know how someone's going to act in the future is how they acted in the past. And if we could shrink this down to the level of a relationship, if we were dating someone and they hit us and they said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I will never do that again. I'll never do it again. We don't believe them. We broke up with them. Time passed. We started to date again. We got back together. And then he started acting irrationally. Would you think to yourself, he's going to hit me again? Of course. This man wants to bludgeon our democracy. So what's the plan? No, I haven't seen it. Where's Project 2028? When we try to make sure that this man leaves office. What's that plan? Now, Donald Trump also said that Melania hates his dancing, which I guess that's the one time. It's the one time I've actually maybe could relate with Melania Trump, because I do too. Didn't stop him from doing this. This is how he ended this terrible speech. How did we get here?